My name is Jennifer Nagel. I teach philosophy at the University of Toronto, and today I want to talk to you about analyzing knowledge. This video looks at two different ways to do this, both of which are modifications of the classical analysis of knowledge as justified true belief. The pure JTB analysis of knowledge is not very popular now. It's widely agreed that there are effective counterexamples to it, like the Gettier cases described in the last video. The person who looks at a stopped clock at just the moment when it happens to read correctly has a justified true belief without knowledge. But some philosophers have felt that we can get a good analysis of knowledge if we just add one thing to the JTB formula. Today we'll look at two different theories about what that one thing might be: the no-false belief analysis and the NoDefeaters analysis. You may have noticed that the characters in Gettier's cases had something in common. Although they ended up believing something true, they relied on a false belief on their way to getting the truth. So when Smith believes that the man who will get the job has 10 coins in his pocket, what he believes is true, but he infers this true conclusion from his false belief that Jones will get the job. Equally, the person who tells the time by looking at a broken clock presumably has a false belief that the clock is working. Right after Gettier published his paper, a philosopher named Michael Clark argued that you could patch the classical analysis just by ruling out reliance on false belief. According to Clark's analysis, S knows that P if and only if 1. P is true, 2. S believes that P, 3. S is justified in believing that P, and 4. It is on true grounds that S believes that P. One problem with this approach is that condition 4 seems to rule out some perfectly good cases of knowledge. Imagine a detective who has a ton of evidence that a certain person is guilty of a crime: videotapes, DNA, dozens of witness statements. And this detective makes a true judgment about the culprit on the basis of all this. If even one of the witnesses is lying when he says he saw what happened, maybe he wasn't there, then no matter how much other evidence she has, the detective can never know who is guilty on Clark's theory, because she won't be making up her mind on entirely true grounds. So Clark's theory is too strict if we want to accept the common sense view that in some cases people can gain knowledge despite the presence of some false beliefs, as long as their overall evidence is strong enough. The no-false belief theory faces trouble on the other side as well. It is designed to handle cases of inference where we believe something on the grounds of something else, but not all Gettier cases turn out to involve inference. Here's an example from the classical Indian tradition. A traveler is walking in the desert and has a hallucination of water in the valley ahead. He goes down into the valley, and by chance there is water there, hidden under a rock. The traveler never makes an inference from a false belief. He just immediately believes there is water in front of him on the basis of his visual experience. And that belief is true and in some sense justified. We'll say that his hallucination is totally realistic. But it seems wrong to say he knows that there is water in the valley as he stands there hallucinating. A more sophisticated version of the no-false belief analysis is the NoDefeater analysis, developed by Keith Lehrer and Thomas Paxson in 1969. They divide knowledge into two kinds: basic and non-basic. Basic knowledge is the kind of self-evident awareness you have when you know that you have a headache, for example. Lehrer and Paxson analyzed basic knowledge as true belief for which there's complete justification that doesn't depend on any justifying statement. It's non-basic knowledge that generates the trouble in Gettier's original examples. Non-basic knowledge has supporting evidence. If someone asked Smith why he believes that the man who will get the job has 10 coins in his pocket, he'd explain that he saw Jones pocketing the coins and heard what the company president said. Ordinarily, this supporting evidence would be great justification. The problem in the Gettier story is that there's a justification-destroying fact lurking out there that Smith doesn't know about: the fact that Jones won't get the job. Lehrer and Paxson call this hidden fact a defeater. If Smith knew that Jones wasn't going to get the job, Smith wouldn't be justified in believing that the man who will get the job has 10 coins in his pocket. Lehrer and Paxson analyzed non-basic knowledge as undefeated justified true belief. As long as there are no nasty hidden surprises out there in the world waiting to destroy your justification, your justified true belief will be knowledge. There is a little complication in their account. They don't want to say that knowing requires absolutely no defeaters at all. To show that it's possible to have knowledge despite the presence of a defeater, Lehrer and Paxson offer the following story. You're in the library one day and see a man stealing a book. You're sure you recognize him as your fellow student, Tom Grabbit. At this point, it seems that you know that Tom Grabbit has just stolen a book from the library. But wait, here's a hidden fact. Tom's mother, Mrs. Grabbit, is sitting at home by her telephone, ready to testify to the police or anyone else who calls that actually Tom could not have been in the library today because he's over 1,000 miles away. She's also going to advise everyone that you might have seen Tom's identical twin brother, John Grabbit, who told her he was going to the library to get a book he desperately needed. So at this point, it seems that your justification has now been defeated, and you don't know that Tom Grabbit has stolen a book from the library after all. But wait, there's one last twist. There's a further hidden fact that cancels out the first hidden fact about Mrs. Grabbit's testimony. The further fact is that Mrs. Grabbit is a pathological liar, and there never was any twin. Her only son Tom really did take the book, and you saw him do so. Your original defeater has itself been defeated, and you actually had all along what Lehrer and Paxson call an undefeated justification for your belief. The fact that there was some hidden evidence apparently contrary to your belief doesn't crush its justification, because there was also some further hidden evidence showing that you had nothing to worry about at the end of the day. Defeaters are okay as long as they ultimately get defeated. It's only undefeated defeaters that can stop you from having knowledge. This theory faces a number of challenges, starting with difficulties cashing out just what is meant by justification without using the concept of knowledge itself. This is an especially big problem in the basic knowledge clause. What does it mean exactly to say that you have a true belief with complete justification? The theory may also have a problem with the desert mirage case, where your belief is true and doesn't seem to rely on you accepting any justifying statement. It looks like the theory could classify this as a case of basic knowledge, which is a problem if we think the desert traveler doesn't know that there's water in the valley. Another challenge for the theory lies in explaining which defeaters should count as ultimately undefeated, especially in get-or cases, where what we believe is ultimately true, so any evidence against it should ultimately count as misleading. If you like these theories, you could think about ways of improving them. Another option is to look at different approaches. The next video looks at 2 fresh ways of analyzing knowledge.